WTF Nation Radio
is in the house.
At the bottom of the ocean, I'm at the bottom of the sea. I'm gonna stay down, down. I'm just stuck here in a dream. I'm at the bottom for the ocean. I'm at the bottom of the sea. I'm gonna stay down, down. I'm just stuck here in a dream.
The horse, with beauty unsurpassed, strength immeasurable, and grace unlike any other, still remains humble enough to carry a man upon its back. When a service member or first responder takes an oath, he or she has mentally and physically committed themselves with self-sacrifice. From the front lines abroad to the very streets you live on in America, they protect. This oath is non-refundable and it is lifelong. Facing unimaginable dangers and unseen scars, these grounds are a place to recover and face any challenges head-on. As veterans and first responders ourselves, we know that battle all too well. From a simple talk with a friend on horseback to an entire debrief in the barn, this sanctuary has seen recovery take place time and time again. No hour of life is wasted that is spent in a saddle. The way we approach change isn't a new phenomenon. This animal has been with humans over 5,000 years. If you've ever been around a horse for long enough, you'll feel that thing, that electric trust. In that moment, nothing else is in your mind. When they turn into you, it's like the world disappears. We harness that moment to build skills off of. Repurposing requires flexibility, adaptability, and the willingness to challenge assumptions and conventional thinking. This approach can be applied to many areas in life, including business, education, and personal growth. To ride a horse is to fly without wings. This lesson and skills learned at War Horses will help reintegrate back into daily life. You'll learn coping mechanisms, improved communication skills, trust, and confidence that will help reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. These tools can be used every day to navigate life and take on many challenges. This may involve practicing mindfulness, setting boundaries, improving communication with loved ones. Transitioning back to society is hard on your own. And when you're at War Horses, you're family, and families solve problems together.
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
This is a public service announcement from C.T. Fletcher. I will not contribute to the pussification of a nation. Get your punk ass out there and work for it, motherfucker.
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Let's roll.
In the year of our deportation dumpster fire. Oh man, how y'all doing this Monday edition? I your host, and of course I got in the gunner's seat my man Massey, who is contrary to popular belief, we did come from the same cloning facility.
Yep, we did.
I'm just a tad bit older. Oh man, so real quick, I hope everyone's doing okay. You know, we're broadcasting somewhere maybe deep in the basement of the Pentagon. That seems to be hot, right? The Pentagon's so hot right now. Oh, let me get my AER propaganda again. Oh, so loaded, so hot. Yeah, either basement of the Pentagon, somewhere in the Alamo, somewhere Area 51, maybe somewhere along the border. Can we make border jokes now? Man.
From the back of an ice fan.
For the back. For the back. Yeah, we should. Yeah, because sometimes I'll switch backgrounds here, and maybe I should do that. Maybe we should put the back of like a van with fucking like ICE agents looking at me and shit, you know. Yeah, not to be confused with ICE that's loading up C-17s for one-way trips to Colombia. Colombia, not Colombia. Colombia. Seems like the news media and everybody tweeting and posting and stuff like that seems to have some issues about how to spell Colombia. It's Colombia, not Colombia.
You're too busy virtue signaling to worry about pronunciation.
Sorry. Yeah, don't forget the Mars base. Yeah, exactly that. So real quick, I wanted to dispel some rumorage that's happening right now, and apparently the timeline on U.S. Army WTF Moments has gotten some. So we can park there. Yeah, has gotten some spice. Some people that are upset at what we posted, what we have been posting. And woo, Lord have mercy. We'll just say this. First off, there is no, I'm gonna say this again. I'm gonna stomp my foot or something like that, or point something at your forehead and say, pew pew, hey, there is no social media prohibition to your personal social media account. If you are a soldier, serviceman, sailor, Marine, airman, guardian, coastie, there is no such thing. Nothing's in place. The organizations have been put on a hold. Organizational social media. So that means like the Army, the Coast Guard, the Navy, Marine Corps, blah, blah, blah. Then it was changed, yada, yada, yada. What was that, Holly? God damn, Holly, just coming off the top rope. Did they give the clear for banging your battle buddies, or is that a TikTok thing? What are you talking about?
I never knew you needed permission.
I was about to say, is it banging your battle buddies? Depends on what kind of buddies you talk about, Holly. So there is no social media prohibition to your own personal social media accounts. The inbox has been flooded because the confusion of what has been posted should not have been released or have been disseminated with the memorandums that we've had. There is no, again, I'm going to stomp my foot. There is no social media prohibition to your personal social media account. Post away. The only ones that are pissed off are the drunk National Guard captains. Yeah. So again, just that I want to get that off because, man, there's everyone's like sending this stuff. Hey, I can't send you this stuff. I'm like, why? Because we've been prohibited from social media posting. Well, who the hell said that?
Yeah, I guarantee though, there's some commands somewhere that are telling their people that shit though.
That's what it is. You got Big Sarge out there going, you better not post your shit on social media, and I better not see it on WTF Moments. So I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. There's nothing there. Now, we posted some images that individuals, Blue Falcon Center of Excellence. We posted some, those are we talking about the MPs. We posted some images today that got a lot of people riled up. And I thought again, anytime a new administration comes in, there's always going to be some changes. There's always going to be new executive orders, new policies, yada, yada, yada. Exactly. Big Star told him not to. Exactly that. Hey, what's up, Recruiter Times? Let's see you in the chats. Oh, we got some spice, yeah. And look, that's just the fucking way it is. Every single administration that comes in always does this, always changes something, always says you can or cannot do it. So when we post some shit that is from them, from those organizations, I'm sorry, that's your leader. That's senior. Here's the thing. We posted some images of the, is it going to be the Fort Jackson post? Yes, it is. We're talking about that. Here's the thing. Everybody knows, and the last time, hell yeah, Patrick says my drink for fuzzy members. Oh, the cantina with 2 drinks. Tusker, baby, that's right. You are not going to believe this. You cannot believe this guy who could speak Kiswahili and he drinks Tusker beer. Tusker beer, out of call Kenya. I mean, I've been there. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm not. My passport does say Kenya on there, so I don't fucking watch The Lion King and all of a sudden think I'm a Kenya expert. I've been to Kenya. So there's been chains of command that are pretty up. You could tell. I don't know if I'm not gonna do it. Hey, do I break that to tinfoil? Tinfoil. It's Monday. That are upset that President Trump is now President Trump again. Now, when President Trump was not President Trump and Biden was come in, you best believe that every single command changed that shit. The chain of command photos that day. That was it.
Yep.
You had chain of command photo come in, and everybody knew. Okay, yeah, everyone update. It's honestly so much to the point to where it's almost like muscle memory. You don't need to. And this is from Cascom. They did. Now I'm just giving you an update. They did change it, and they did update the chain of command board, which you can see when it was posted at the time. It had former President Biden. This happens every fucking election cycle. Somebody's going to get upset. They're going to slow roll it. Because you best believe when Biden was elected and Biden was inaugurated, immediately you could not have seen, it will be in a minute, Max. You could not have seen so much asses. Never have I seen anybody pay attention close to detail when Biden was inaugurated and all of a sudden Trump's picture came out. Whoosh, gone. Right? Now for this time, I kind of felt it was kind of like, look, guys, we get it. You're being slow. No one is more professional than I, right? You have soldiers that look up to you to say, hey, what's going on? Do we post this? Do we not post this? Blah, blah, blah. Why should we post this? Why are you getting upset? It got to the level to where the United States Army, Drill Sergeant Academy,
Ooh.
posted their own chain of command photo, Trump.
I'm sorry.
Look, for some shit like that, joking around, yada, 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 we got it. Hey, look, don't get me wrong, it's funny and fucking mean. It's you know. But I was going to say, the comments that we've seen from the post, everyone fucking thought it was funny as fuck, good, all the comments. I want everybody to be reminded of Article 88, use of contemptuous words against elected officials. They're watching. Everyone's watching. And so even your soldiers see that. So when your soldiers like to say some shit, they feel that we're probably on your side of the aisle for political side of the aisle. There's going to be some that was there's going to be that are not going to be part of your side of the political aisle, and will be more than happy to trash the opposite party that you believe in. I'm talking about as a leader.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why it was posted and the reason why everyone on the staff were like, "Whoa, this is the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy."
Yeah.
Okay? This is where, I mean, you watch Full Metal Jacket, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. You watch, Forrest Gump with the drill sergeant. You watch all the imagery of what a drill sergeant is in the U.S. Army, and this is what you should not see.
No.
Had nothing to do. And also, update your fucking boards, okay? Update the board. Stop playing the fucking games. Stop playing it because you hate fucking Trump. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop. You're not. And then people got pissed off at us for posting because it said it was causing division. The inbox, I'm being honest with you, there's another post I'm going to show. The three posts, the two drill sergeant posts, and then the DEI one. That caused so much inbox traffic that the other traffic, we had to like get someone, hey, if it's DEI or whatever, just fucking roll it, whatever. I'll answer the ones that say whatever, that are complaining about this, because it took up a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the individuals, normal shit posting and stuff like that. So I was to say it, and everyone I think could agree with me. That's what we were thinking. Hey, look, it's all funny games, bullshitting around, jaw jacking, playing grab ass when it's your whatever, but not at an institution like that.
No.
Not, I mean, don't get me wrong. Well, you guys posted dogs in chain of command. That's a fucking dog in the chain of command, who, by the way, was when we post animals in place of whatever or something like that. Usually they're like fucking what do they call those? Therapy dogs and shit like that. Or there was a dog that was whatever, just to kind of like the morale stuff, just goofing off. But then the pictures changed again. Like they take the picture of it, send it in. We all laugh. Ha 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 ha. But an establishment like that.
Yeah.
Now, we've been asked in the inbox as well, who sent that in? Well, in keeping with the standard policy of U.S. Army WTF moments and the WTF Nation, we will never reveal any source or identities of anybody who sent that in.
Yeah.
Anybody who sent that in. Sorry, as Arnold likes to say. Now, this next one's going to be touchy. Okay, this next picture. Drill sergeant says, "Oh yeah, it's a good one too. I've never been a drill sergeant." But go back to Holly's point about battle buddies and stuff. I have hung out with drill sergeants. So I will insist that each the drill sergeant portion of the drill sergeant must be got drill sergeants in the fucking chats. I will insist that each soldier meets and maintains that Army standards of military bearing and courtesy consistent with the highest tradition of the U.S. Army. All right. Could you imagine now if the old guard did that shit? Like the guys who guard the Tomb of the Unknowns?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now with the change of DEIA and EEO, right? There's been a lot of confusion, and I'm tell you what, there's been a lot of fucking, I'm going to tell you what, this is some political shit some of our military leaders are getting involved with on separating the two and outright canceling some programs, saying it was because of DEI when it has nothing to do with DEI. EEO and DEI are separate. And we've already had some influencers hit us up and say, hey, the memorandum that you post, what's going on with this? Blah, 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 blah. It has been written already. We've posted it before. The term DEI and all that, anything that's part of it gets removed. Hey, I'm sorry. That's the policy that the SecDef and our government has already placed in. Do we like it? Yes or no, that we don't fucking like it, or we do like it, or we do approve of it. It doesn't matter. I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to fucking happen as soon as the orders and everything started coming down, that people were going to start posting some shit. And the next thing you know, oh, well, see, you guys are taking a side, blah, blah, blah. So here's the next one. This is one that got everybody fucking riled up. This right here is an orientation for pregnancy appointments that you must attend this training of inclusivity. Inclusive. God damn it, there I go again with my English second language. Inclusivity. So the shit's out. This is like your shot across the bow. It wasn't an organization. It wasn't a fucking command. It was at the Darnell Army Medical Center, Fort Cavazos, Texas. That's it. It's got to get posted. It's got to get fucking taken down, whether we like it or not. You can put your feelings in the comments of U.S. Army WTF moments, but don't come at the admins for posting or engaging in stuff like this. For like, this is like saying there's a new PT policy. This is like saying there's new hair extensions or new hair grooming standards for women. Remember that? Again, the you can analyze and try to get into whatever fucking philosophical or collegiate professional philosophy way of whatever fucking what you think it should be or should not be. The rules have been given. That's it. I said we were only going to like maybe do 3 posts. I mean, we'll say, okay, we'll do one chain of command image, and then we'll do another chain of command image, and then we'll do the inclusivity one. That'll be it. That'll actually, like I said, that's the only matter of the topic.
Yeah.
That's Josiah back in hood. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Max. Oh yeah, but no beards for men. So that's the rationale of our posting. That was it. That was the reason why it was posted, because those orders are out. You can go to U.S. Army WTF Moments. Go to photos and all that. As a matter of fact, I'll walk you through that if you need to. So that way, these images are that we're posting there's a reason behind it. We're also trying to protect you guys.
Mm-hmm.
It is a WTF moment when it gets posted. Care to whatever your philosophical believing, blah, 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 whatever. Some of our admins we have admins that would be at the typical belief or certain lifestyle that some would not agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't bother us. They're still admins and they're still serving. So to get in the political back and forth. By the way, we got a guest tonight too. Richie McGinniss. That dude's like author of Riot Diet. He's been everywhere, man. He's been involved in. Woo, man. He's like right now talking about the Patriot Front. Yeah, shooting the shit about he made a pretty spicy Newsweek article about what's his name? Who's that little kid? Kyle, what's his name?
Rittenhouse.
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse, yeah. So we're getting back to warrior ethos and emphasizing lethality, no beards, exactly that. So he's going to be joining us. So I'm pretty excited too, because that Patriot Front shit, that's the one I want to fucking get into. Those fuckers, guy. So anyways, so
very inclusive of you.
Very inclusive of what? Oh, I want to hear his take. It's fucking interesting shit. So again, those are the posts. That's all we're going to answer. You could say, you could get mad and you get everyone comment. We've had, oh my God, I think we've had over almost 100 messages on that one, the DEI one. I'm sorry. Those are the fucking images that type of outward media that was directed to by the Secretary of the Army needs to be taken down, whether we like it or not. What's next? You don't want to wear boots anymore? Everyone wants to wear Crocs or something like that? So, all right.
Yes.
This next topic, I made sure that we cleared everything for this next topic.
Yeah.
This next topic here, man. I am. Well, I don't want to say I'm appalled. I don't want to say I'm angered. I want to say, I ran a question: Who puts back or red on salad? It's just me. I don't know. It depends on what kind of stuff. So, we posted a Reddit article, a Reddit thread, I should say.
Yeah.
And that Reddit thread is, good Lord. I mean, I to the point where I had to call Reddit, the dude who Reddit the stuff, because we got some information in the inbox about this same case, and I was like, I'm just gonna put this dude's face up because I'm gonna show this guy's face, because I will discuss. We could discuss and talk and yada yada about this guy, and want to put some camo Crocs? Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. So this right here, and everyone's like, oh, you're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that. We're going to make sure I got stuff. So we were talking with some individuals that have witness to this or have connected to this case. And this case is about a former military man who's actually an active duty. He's currently active duty, lieutenant colonel.
Bam.
He's not former. He's still in jail. He's in.
Yeah.
Where do I start? So everyone asked about the about the article and the Reddit stuff and all that. And I was like, all the information's inside. If you go to that Reddit article, you'll be able to get and more into the details of what was of what is the topic there, because I really wanted to make sure that everybody, well, I should say exactly that Recruiter Times. That is the most lieutenant colonel face I've ever seen, because we wanted to make sure that everybody was represented, and I wanted to make sure that conversation was hit with the details, because I didn't want to leave some of the details out, but these details are literally just fucking confusing as shit when you think about it. But it's also due to the fact that the Army has this weird policy, or this weird thing where lieutenant the guy gets to retire.
That's fucking insane.
The guy gets to retire. So talking to some friends, and talking to mostly the motor Reddit guy, I said, hey, let's get together and we'll post this up. So on December 1st, 2022, first responders arrived with the family of Lieutenant Colonel Pasquantonio, and then his wife, who lost consciousness, who was severely injured. And according to court documents from the prosecution, an argument over infidelity resulted in Lieutenant Colonel Pasquantonio beating his wife with his fists and his hands. And until she lost consciousness, she was subsequently hospitalized. And she had multiple bone breaks from the severe beating. I'm talking like broke every bone in her upper body and her rib cage, just about.
Jesus.
You have freaking 24 ribs, 12 on each side, and he fractured at least half. And his defense requested bond reduction on December 2nd. And it was granted over the prosecution's protesting. So he went home and then deleted all the ring camera footage, destroying the footage of the evidence. And when it came to the charges, he pleaded no contest to the destruction charge and guilty to the assault. His now ex-wife gave testimony and had his comments read in court, but did not want to have to testify to confront him at trial, and was supportive of the deal. At sentencing, the county victim's liaison is the one who reads the comments from the victim. When he was sentenced, because of the level of offense he pled was called a border box case in Kansas. Now, I'm going to tell you what, Kansas has one of the worst domestic violence laws I've ever seen. I've known survivors from Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri, but mostly in Kansas, and they have the most. I mean, holy shit! This means that the presumptive prison, but given enough reason and evidence, they can be reformed. Can you believe that? They could be reformed. They have.
I would pull ring footage from the get-go after he was arrested.
Right.
Anyway, that's my brain is stuck on that. Like, why the fuck was it still there?
Right, exactly. So the judge, utilizing his discretion, gave him probation.
Jesus.
36 months. And of course, naturally, the county attorney was pissed. I mean, who wouldn't be pissed, right?
Yeah.
So the county attorney turned it over to local radio, podcasts, blasted. I mean, he put on blast everything, the decision of the judge. And the judge was by no means required to come straight to the probation conclusion, and this was a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys go in the thread if you guys go into the Reddit thread, you'll be able to see all the links and all the connections of all the stuff. And man, it's so much to unpeel. I mean, this is like a homework project for me. I'm like, holy crap! So if you go into that Reddit thread that's posted on the main page, you'll see it. The county attorney hoped the Army would change their mind, and the Army did. Because it's not exactly common to see the Army move to court-martial after somebody's been convicted and tried by a civilian court, right? It's more common that if the civilian system can't make it to trial or can't convict, right? So this seems like to be the case where the Army didn't like the sentence, which is who wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
And then if you guys don't remember that Green Beret that was over at JBLM, Colonel Owen Ray, again, all the deets are in the Reddit post. Why don't we court-martial him?
Yeah.
So it's probably because he got several years in civilian court. So that kind of, it's almost like the balance, which I'm kind of glad that the at least the civilian court in Kansas was kind of like, what are you doing, man? So he pleads guilty August of 2023, and the sentencing took place in September 2023. And then early 2024, they referred him. Here comes some icing. Yeah, exactly. Rain's like what reading along is like, ooh, yeah, he knows exactly. So here comes the spice. So now, in addition to charge, so then early 2024, they referred him to court-martial officially. Now, in the addition to being charged for the domestic violence and destruction of evidence, Lieutenant Colonel Pasquantino also had an Article 133 charge. The additional charge was because he was fooling around with a service member's wife during all this.
How?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the face, dude. Jesus Christ.
Dude,
looks like his eyebrows are eating his fucking, they're just munching their way fucking down. Fucking Jill. Anyway.
Yeah, so while obviously going to go into civilian trial, we don't give a fuck. Civilians don't give a fuck about adultery and shit like that. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. It's just like, hey, look, whatever. But in the court martial, that's like a stackable charge. That's one of the things that's used as, like, you really can't get anybody busted for adultery like on a standalone unless it's another added stack. I've rarely seen that. I'm sure you can. Pretty sure my JAG buddies are going to like DM me like crazy right now. No, you're wrong. But I'm just saying, I've never seen, and this is my experience, never seen an adultery charge standalone. I've always seen it with like something else.
There'd be a lot of military dudes,
right?
And women out there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. And so it's normally attached to, like, for instance, fraternization, and then of course adultery's added on top of that. Rape, adultery's added on top of that. So it's normally the way I see it like that. So, he started an inappropriate relationship with the spouse of an NCO in the vicinity where he worked. I mean, that's so if you guys have also been following along in the Reddit thread, at one point the NCO messaged the lieutenant colonel on Teams and it just said, "Fuck you." Oh no, Damien, that's the point. He does get to retire. I'm gonna get to that point. And despite a series of no contact orders between the lieutenant colonel and the individual and the wife and the kids and all yada yada yada, this would eventually result in the deterioration of the service member's marriage and eventual divorce. Yeah, but he can react exactly that. And that's another thing too. This guy, I'm like kind of looking. This guy's like, he's like Army famous or Facebook famous or something like that? Because you look up his name and you can see him like posted in another like articles and stuff like that of units doing shit and stuff like that. So anyways, as a result of the recent plea deal, the adultery issue charges are going to be dropped. Which, they're so far below the seriousness of domestic violence that would seem to like marginalize what the senior NCO and his marriage and how he feels, which rightly so feels like it's a lack of justice. This is an injustice. This is a true military WTF injustice.
Mm-hmm.
Bro. And we got more stories like this too. Like 2020 2525 is going to be like lit.
I know, right?
All the stuff that we talked about and all this shit we're reviewing. God. So the lieutenant colonel basically got to walk free, continue to wreak havoc and destroy this kid's marriage. Now, the drama even touched a local political race where Lieutenant Colonel Pasquantonio's defense lawyer in civilian trial, Amy Bateman, was running for the 41st District of Kansas. It's all on the thread, by the way, the links and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most of them got in trouble underage drinking is private and they hit Iraq, so they got smoked me in the yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Pip. Yeah, just catch up. You'll see it. Click on the Reddit thread on the main page. So as we're walking along, so that way individuals that are driving and stuff like that, they can't read and stuff like that. So Amy Bateman is a prolific military defense lawyer. Top tier officer scumbags have hired her. Like, no shit. Like, these are the guys that protect, fucking look at the names, read, roll up. She was running against retired 06 Pat Proctor as part of the campaign. Pat Proctor put some psyop in there. He was like throwing fucking billboards and shit.
Damn.
All this stuff. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can grab a let me see if I can grab a hang on, let me change this because I want to see the psyop.
Yeah.
I want to see the psyop stuff. You guys, I want to see this right here. Because this right here I think will be more important to show you just how, I mean, this is savage. I mean, like as a former yeah, exactly that. Kansas and Missouri are pretty fucked up when it comes to that shit. So I'm gonna show you guys one of the leaflet or one of the posts that they did, and holy guacamole. Let's see. Okay, so let me show you this one right here. Bam! Look at that. Look at that.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about. That's some true political savagery right there. Worthy of that's worthy of some psyoping right there. Look at that. That's some awesome information operations. Amy Bateman was defended a man convicted of beating his wife unconscious and destroying evidence. Blah blah blah. Vote to protect Kansas. Don't let Bateman bailout be your worst nightmare. Looks like Uncle Fester from Adam's Family. So that's just one of the things. So I'm going to let me change some screens out so that way because I got some other stuff open. I don't want to. Where were we? Oh yeah, there he is. Let me put it back up here.
Dude, that's the face that you make if you've had a really long day of working out in the heat and shit, and you're going to get a shower and you've already taken your clothes off, and you're like, oh shit, I got to get something from under the counter, and you squat down and get a whiff of your own asshole. That's the fucking face you make.
Everyone's like Uncle Fester, Uncle Molester. Yeah. So anyways, those flyers, those ads, woo, bro.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So some of them have featured Amy Bateman's defense of Lieutenant Colonel Pasquantonio made vague threats towards Colonel Proctor about releasing these ads that was referred to Leavenworth for action. So Lieutenant Colonel P's plea deal was executed this month, and he will serve under 1 year confinement.
Jesus Christ.
And will not be punitively discharged, which means what? He'll be allowed to retire.
Man.
He will retain all of his benefits, retirement. He will, I mean, and his continued offensive adultery, like right there, and threatening the dude and shit like that.
Yeah.
So the argument is how do I say this? How we don't want to take their money because of the family and the spouse, but this ignores the fact that the spouse still has to get a lawyer, pay for it, take them to court, and get their quote unquote fair share, their share. Colonel Owen Ray, a friend of the current CSA, by the way, Randy George, wife needed just over 3 years in her situation, and if she didn't herself have a well-paying job, do you really think she needed over 3 years in her situation? If she didn't herself, of course, would be dragged out in a long process. So I'm just like, holy shit.
What kills me is this dude will have, you said, full retirement, all the shit that comes with it. And there's fucking dudes out there that are fighting to get like the proper percentage from some shit that they got discharged for.
Not to mention the fact
that never fucking laid a hand on anybody with honorable fucking service.
And not to mention the fact that in civilian court, family law, there's a lot of guys that have to fight for custody and fight for the benefit. And now they're about ready to take, they're trying to get this NCO, the senior NCO's fucking money to pay for her shit when, I mean, how is anybody not seeing this for what it is? There's individual, it's like punitive, people were like, oh, well, punitive discharge is just too harsh, blah, blah, blah. No. We post kids getting destroyed, getting reduced in rank and thrown out in the fucking streets for saying something to an NCO, disrespecting an NCO, for example, or popping hot on a piss test.
Yeah.
So this is the norm.
Jesus Christ.
Just a real quick factoid, since FY 2021, there have been 380 court martials that involved drugs for junior ranks, and 98% saw convictions, and 83% were discharged punitively. In the same time, only 11% of retirement-eligible individuals convicted or pleaded guilty were discharged punitively. So I'm just saying, dude, there's also a sexual assault, sexual battery thing in this as well. Is that the Army has created a system where there's no additional tools at a higher level to properly deal with this retirement-eligible committee. Like, holy shit! Only and this, for some of you guys, if this may sound too graphic, I'm going to be talking about sexual assault for a second. Only penetrative rape, child sexual misconduct related offenses have a greater than 50% punitive discharge rate upon conviction or guilty plea. Meaning that unless it's rape, penetrative rape, then it's not going to. They're not going to slam them. They're not going to slam an individual that is convicted of that shit.
Jesus.
So now, mind you, this is just one of them.
Yeah,
this is just one of them. I mean, I could give you a whole weekend's worth of conversation, but just want to make sure that you guys get directed to the matter of fact. Let me grab that Reddit. Let me grab that Reddit thing here. Let me just go ahead and put her in that.
Pop her in the chat.
Pop her in the chats. There you go. It's in the chats. It's in the force. There we go. So I'm blown away, man. I'm blown away.
Yeah. This
guy's gonna get out. He's gonna go retire. He's gonna be given a retire ID card. He'll be able to walk around, fucking post, do whatever he fucking wants.
Yep.
I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? This, to me, it's just no. Unsat. I mean,
no, he needs to be getting finger blasted in a dark hole somewhere by strangers.
You know, under the prison, dude, or some shit, because that is like, no, I mean, because like, and this not just affects. I mean, this also, I mean, look how the second and third order effects of this. It's affecting, the NCO's family in it, and he's got, there's a lot of stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of therapy going on. I'm sure there's a lot of fucking.
Absolutely.
I'm just blown away. I am just blown away that this guy has gotten to this point to where, the system we talk about now, hopefully all the standards and discussion of standards and high standards and this new Secretary of Defense talking about standards and this and this. I hope this stuff happens. I mean, to where he comes in and takes a look. I don't mean like the actual events happening, but I hope he comes in. I hope he comes in and just checks his shit out and is like, he fucking sees it and he's like, oh damn, fuck this. No, this guy needs to go. Blah, blah. Or while he's still in, do a review.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's frustrating for me, dude. It's really frustrating for me because I how could you sit there and look at a soldier and tell them that these programs are working or working for them, and then this shit's happening. Yeah. So anyhow. All right. Well, we're gonna take a break right quick. Got Richie already like chill. He's stretching out. He just did a space on Twitter, and at one of the topics I was hoping he'd talk about. So, we'll be right back. We're gonna be taking a break, and then make sure you smoke them if you got them, and shots. So, hey, and I hope he's the Kurgan from. He looks like he's the Kurgan from Wish. Oh, that was a Highlander comment. Okay, gotcha. All right. All right. We'll be right back.
Oh, am I already on the screen?
No, not yet, man. Not yet. No, not you. Nobody was talking about you, bro. They were talking about the individual that we had displayed. So we're going to take a break right quick. What does that mean?
I got that reference. And that one hurt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm about to say, like, there's 3 Kurgans up here, 4 Kurgans. What are you talking about? Anyways, we'll be right back. Shots.
What is this Facebook Live? I've never heard of this shit.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Shit in the bag, Pogue.
In the barracks where the madness breeds, a soldier's tale of
lie. Army WTF, you can't deny. Army top of the stories unfold. In the heart of the chaos, the truth is told. From the field to the base, the legends grow. Army top of the force, the madness we know. A Humvee stuck in the mud so deep. A midnight rain, no time for sleep. Emerge straight like gold in hand. The strangest sights in this foreign land. Drill sergeants rage, a fiery storm. Private antics far from the norm. In the shadows where the secrets lie. Army WTF, you can't deny. Army top of the stories unfold. In the heart of the chaos, the truth is told. From the field to the base, the legends grow. Army top of the force, the madness we know. Mud so deep, a midnight rain, no time for sleep. Emerge straight like gold in hand. The strangest sights in this foreign land. Drill sergeants rage, a fiery storm. Private antics far from the norm. In the shadows where the secrets lie. Army WTF, you can't deny. Army top of the stories unfold. In the heart of the chaos, the truth is told. From the field to the base, the legends grow. Army top of the force, the madness we know. In the ranks where the wildlings roam. Every soldier's got a tale of their own. From the absurd to the downright strange. Army top of the force, it never will change. She'll raise a glass to the tales untold. In the Army's world where the brave and bold live the moments that make us say Army top of the force every single day.
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
Hey, you! This is the heavy monster sound.
We're back with my guest, Richie McGinniss. What's up, man?
Not much, just freezing in DC. Actually, it's pretty nice in DC today, but it's been a cold week.
Yeah, up and down the East Coast, it's been snowing and off and on, and I'm like, this is the South. How's it supposed to?
Yeah, the news has been hot, but the
exactly.
the weather's been cold.
exactly. Oh man, well, thank you for joining us today, man. This is pretty cool. I've been kind of waiting for this because, like we were talking about it a little bit. There's a lot of news going on. Politics are heating up. Tell us a bit about yourself so that way we could get into that spice as well.
Well, I'm Richie McGinniss, and I was born in Connecticut, from the Connecticut, New York area. So Connecticut, but is 40 miles from Manhattan. I moved to DC in 2008 to attend school where I studied at Georgetown, studied Arabic and Middle Eastern history. And I was actually moved to DC, was knocking on doors for Obama in 2008 for his campaign in Virginia, thinking naive 19-year-old kid. He had a op-ed in the Washington Post about how he was going to pull all the troops out of Iraq by 2010. I thought in studying Arabic, I was going to be part of this whole new American foreign policy agenda. It turned out that he did not do that. It turned out that, being a anti-Bush, pro-free speech, anti-foreign war, lefty at that time, the sands have shifted significantly since then. I went to work for after I graduated, I worked at MSNBC, NBC as a production assistant. So I saw that whole operation from the ground level. And then I went to work for Mark Levin, who's a conservative radio guy. And that was during the Tea Party, end of the Tea Party, and Trump's election, leading up to the election and immediately after. And then I started working at Daily Caller, which was founded by Tucker Carlson in 2010. He founded it, but I started in 2017, right at the beginning of Trump's first term. And I ran the video there for 5.5 years. I quit in end of 2022, but that basically brings us to my book, Riot Diet, which when all the protests and riots broke out on Memorial Day of 2020, it all went through January 6th. I covered all the BLM stuff around the country, DC, New York, Portland, Seattle, Kenosha, the shooting there, and then all the MAGA stuff with the election, Stop the Steal 1 in DC, Stop the Steal 2, and January 6th. I followed the rioters in all the way to the House doors. And so yeah, it's I've had a trip across the political spectrum in media. I've had a personal journey of my own political leanings. I feel like I really don't have a home today just because of how polarized things are.
Oh my God, I know.
If you're on this side or that side and you second guess anything, you're going to get blasted. So that's what I do now is I just kick hornets nests and get yelled at by people.
And sometimes it's inadvertently, man. Sometimes you're just like, all I did was like, hey, so if so-and-so and so-and-so, shut up, you lib, or shut up, you ultra MAGA, or shut.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, do you ever serve in the military at all?
No, I thought that I wanted to work in some capacity. Studying Arabic at the best, Middlebury and Georgetown have the best programs in the country. Most of my classmates, that's what they're doing now. But in studying the region and then living in Amman, Jordan, right before the Arab Spring, the fall of 2010, I came to realize that I didn't really agree with most of what the government was doing over there.
You're talking about their government or our government?
Well, both, actually. As a matter of fact, both. And yeah, I think that idealism that I had moving to DC turned to just jaded cynicism, to be completely transparent. But that's why, being over there, I thought, oh, I'm going to use my skills to fix the Middle East and fix all these problems over there. And then I realized how amazing America is. And so I started working in American media instead, because I was like, well, this is the best chance we got right here.
Right.
So
Right.
here I am. But I did end up in some pretty warlike conditions during the protests and riots of 2020. And I never anticipated that turning my back on, doing something in the Middle East would, the tribal warfare would come home, so to speak.
Oh, it's definitely tribal. It's too much to the point to where what you would think there'd be political parties and agendas that would have some sort of unity immediately branch off and create new little freaking cells of each other. And you're like, I thought you were cool with that person, or aren't you cool with that person? This person was good. Why are you all attacking him? So.
Yeah, it's even more interesting today because the Trump coalition has been expanded beyond what it was in 2016.
Fast too.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I was saying before about posting stuff on our just how the sweeping changes within the Defense Department has you're just like, whoa,
yeah,
hit
the ground running.
Yeah. What's this about? Well, I mean, I guess telling you before, we at U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio not stumbled, but while we were covering the BLM riots and stuff, that's when we saw your story about your experience during that time. Can you tell us what was your involvement there, or what did you see?
Yeah,
and give us a
so
little bit
that's
of experience?
Interestingly, when the riots first broke out that Memorial Day weekend, I was in New York with my family, and I had two coworkers. One was actually an unpaid intern, Jorge Ventura, who showed up 3 days before everything popped off, and Shelby Talcott, who was a former pro tennis player, who was a politics reporter for Daily Caller, and I ran the video team. So I was in New York, and there was a mob that assaulted the White House. People don't realize how bad that was that first night. There was a fire that was set adjacent to St. John's Church.
Yep.
And I ended up getting to DC on the day of Trump's St. John's Church Bible photo op. And after that first weekend, I was like a block up from there, to see the narrative that was spun out of the Trump going into the bunker and everybody making fun of him for that. And, also not at the same time mentioning the fact that it was a BLM mob that tried to overrun the White House, and
right.
It was put there for security purposes.
Right.
But then also, the Bible photo op and this idea that Trump tear gassed and rubber bulleted the protesters. It turns out that they didn't use tear gas because you're not allowed to use that in DC, and that it's a what's called a smoke bomb, which is like comparing a pool needle to a baseball bat.
Right,
and
right.
They didn't use rubber bullets. They used pepper balls, which I've been hit with both, and they're not the same.
Right.
So from that first weekend, we all had our cell phones, and I actually had a big DSLR camera that I didn't even end up using that weekend because it's conspicuous. And Shelby was able to record this footage of the fires at St. John's. Jorge recorded Leland Vittert, Fox News correspondent at the time, getting assaulted in front of the White House with his cameraman. Shelby recorded all this looting. I recorded everybody getting kettled, which is when the police surround you and arrest everybody at this St. John's Church, or a block up from there. And that first weekend, it was very apparent that we were able to get aspects of what was going on that the corporate media with their big cameras wasn't able to. And we were showing a side of things that was the reality, the video just coming out without commentary. Hey, there was a guy, he said this, he was wearing this. That first weekend, yeah, people paid attention to our coverage, but it wasn't until after Chaz in Seattle, Portland, New York, that we ended up in Kenosha. And by that point, we'd seen a lot of pretty crazy stuff, but Kenosha was another level of power vacuum because it's an open carry state. Seattle was as well. We didn't see it. We saw some near shootings there, some situations that were eerily similar to what happened with Rittenhouse.
Right.
But that's when, our coverage really entered the national spotlight, because the New York Times correspondent went home the day of the shooting because she knew it was going to be dangerous. I don't blame her. That was by all accounts a smart decision. But there was one Washington Post reporter. That's it. Like, that's the only reporter from any corporate media outlet who was there that night. And there were like 10 independents who I'd seen all over the country who were there, from BG on the Scene, Ford Fisher, Drew Hernandez, Elijah Schaefer, Shelby, myself, Jorge, Julio, Rosas, all these people. We were all on the ground for all of these events across the country. And I think it really speaks to how little the greater media on both sides, the Fox News and the CNNs of the world, they were happy to just sit on the periphery and, spout their talking points and then grab our footage. And I talk about in my book very openly what footage was purchased by what companies and why and how they edited it. So they grab our footage and edit it selectively to fit
I was about to ask I remember reading a little bit about that. And didn't some of them, several outlets just straight up took it and they just grabbed it?
Yeah, that definitely happened. So Rachel Maddow took my footage
of
the Jackson statue when they tried to take that down in DC in June.
Mm-hmm.
They just like straight up just took it. They put my handle up there, but it's like, you're supposed to pay me for that. And Kenosha actually was probably the best example of those polarized narratives, because after the shooting, there was basically two narratives. There were two narratives that were spun up. It was either Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero, Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist. Joseph Rosenbaum, the first man he shot, which was 15 feet in front of me, he's either a martyr of the BLM cause or he's a terrible man who's evil, who did evil things. And, Joseph Rosenbaum did do evil things and he did lunge for Rittenhouse's weapon. But at the same time, like we were talking about during the break before he came on, legally speaking, Rittenhouse was acquitted, but that doesn't mean that it has to sit well. It doesn't mean that, conservatives were overlooking the fact that his parents let him go out to a riot at age 17. And I don't know who would say that he's qualified to be, he had the EMT pack, he had a rifle. He wasn't EMT certified. He lied to me in the interview and said that he was. He was a lifeguard at a swimming pool, local swimming pool. He was from the area. He was just right over the line. So there were all these narratives that were spun up on both sides, like, oh, went across state lines. Yeah, he's like 10 minutes away in Antioch, Illinois. And then, on the other side,
it's like crossing a bridge in the Bay, in Bay Bridge or something like that.
Yeah, but all those minor details were overlooked in favor of the crazy election that we were in the midst of.
Well, not to mention the fact those narratives you're talking about when it came to gun control, when it came to age and what was he doing there, and then other stories broke off from that. What was he doing on all that? It to me, my biggest thing was because it was so fast. Everything happened so quick. Like,
tell me about it.
I mean, I was about to say, the event that happened, like you were saying, and like I was saying before, there's a spirit of the law, and I was using a little bit of the corpus delicti, stuff of the element of the crime. What we saw and what was interpreted in court, then all of a sudden laid out the even more narrative.
Yeah. Yes. And I think more truth came out of the trial than what came out of all the media coverage in the year leading up to it. With that being said, it's an adversarial system. So I had a weird role because the night of the shooting, I thought that I was recording. I was on the phone with Shelby. I was like, I had interviewed Kyle 13 minutes before the shooting, actually. And then I was walking with him as he was asking. This is another thing that wasn't mentioned. He was, or that was overlooked by one side, is that he was actually, he did bring his med kit, and he told me in as many words that he was there to provide security for the business, but also to provide medical attention to the rioters and protesters who have been forced away from the courthouse.
Yeah.
So that we can examine, there's a big difference between having good intentions and what ends up happening. So people can go out into something like this with good intentions, and then all of a sudden something really bad happens. So in his own words, he was out there for all these great reasons, he thought. But as I was walking and he was saying medical, does anyone need medical? A lot of the people did not perceive him the way that he thought he was there. They were viewing him negatively because he had a gun. And these dudes turned out they were from Chicago. It came out in the trial. These 4 guys yelled at him, "Hey man, you think you're cool? Like, you think you're in a movie?" And I was like, okay, my job is to get all sides of the story here, whether it's the protesters or the violent rioters or the people who come out there with guns because the cops aren't doing their jobs.
Yeah, I was about to say, what was the environment when you were, I mean, where did you see that? I mean, were there any cops there? Were there any?
Well, there were, and there were National Guard too, actually. But the thing is Kenosha is not like DC. They don't have protests every weekend.
Gotcha.
So those police aren't like regularly doing riot control. And it's not, it is something that's difficult to corral a group of 300 to 500 people and make sure. So what happened on the shooting was on the third night of rioting. We arrived on the second night. But what happened over the course of the 3 nights was basically the same thing over and over again. Jacob Blake was shot by police on Sunday, August 23rd. And he, just like the Rittenhouse shooting, there was a video that came out on Twitter and it showed the police shoot him 7 times. Everybody said 7 times in the back in front of his kids. It turned out that he had a warrant out for his arrest, and his baby mama, he had sexually assaulted her. And she called the police saying he's back and he's trying to get my kids. And when the police arrived, they wrestled with Jacob Blake and they tased him twice. The video that showed up didn't show any of that. It just showed him trying to enter a vehicle and get shot as he was wrestling away from police.
Right.
And so Kamala Harris and Joe Biden said Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back. It was 4 times in the back, 3 times in the side, and that he was shot in front of his kids. It's just like a complete bastardization of the reality. He was also armed with a knife, which is a detail that was left out from their side of the narrative. And so that video was taken out of context and it spun everybody up. And they turned their ire on the courthouse, the Kenosha courthouse, where the police station is right next to it as well. And so the first night they got pushed away and they burned a bunch of cars in the area. We saw the footage of that. We arrived on Monday. The second night of rioting, same thing. The police pushed everybody away and then they looted and burned all the businesses in the surrounding area. And on the second night, Shelby and I were walking through basically it was a very surreal scene of just fields of cars, lots of cars burning. And these guys were in front of a car source business. And they were using power washers and buckets and trash cans full of water, literally, to put out these vehicle fires next to the structure. And I said, "What are you guys doing here?" And the guy just turned off the power washer for a second and said, you see any firemen out here? And obviously he had come out there from the employer because the firemen weren't there, or they couldn't deal with the amount of burning that was going on. So the next night, same thing. Everybody got pushed away from the courthouse. They had put up a fence on that third day. And I went in to get internet service and post my footage of everyone getting pushed away. And I saw Kyle Rittenhouse, among others, armed guards in front of the car source lot, the same lot that I interviewed the power washer guy.
I remember
before. So I said,
yep.
So I said, that's an extension of this story. So I went out and that's how I ended up interviewing Kyle. But then fast forwarding back to the guys who were yelling at him as we were walking through there, I wanted to get their side of the story. So I walked up to them. This is now like 5 minutes before the shooting. And I was like, I aimed my phone at them. One of them had a handgun. One of them had bricks in his hands. And they did not look happy with me for aiming my camera at them. So I put my camera away and I went with my brake glass in case of emergency move. I pulled out a White Claw from my gas mask bag. I smokes and White Claws were like my peace offering to break the ice. And it worked, as it almost always did.
Yeah.
And the dude with the handgun was like, yeah, I'll take a White Claw.
Yeah.
And at that point, they thought it was kind of funny how scared I looked. And they agreed to talk to me without my phone. And that's when I saw Kyle running now with his med kit, with an AR, and with a fire extinguisher. So that's when I just said, sorry, guys, I got to go. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew wherever he was running, something was about to go down. I called my coworker, Shelby, and I was like, something's about to go down. Where are you? She's like, I'm on Sheridan Road, which is the road I was on. And I was like, okay. That's right when I heard screaming and Rosenbaum ran out from dark area of the street after Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse ran away and Rosenbaum pursued him. A gunshot went off. Rittenhouse turned around with his rifle aimed 45 degrees at the ground, and Rosenbaum continued running, screamed "F you," and lunged for Rittenhouse's gun. He dodged around and shot 4 times in 0.7 seconds. But I spoke to police on the night of, actually brought Rosenbaum to the hospital, loaded him onto the gurney. I was shirtless because I'd used it to try to stem the bleeding, covered in blood. And I told the police officer who came in with Gage Groskowitz, the third man shot. There were 2 men killed, and then the third, Groskowitz, got his bicep shot off. He came in it looked like a butcher had removed his bicep.
Oh yeah, the pictures are out there, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was Nathan DeBrune who took those photos. He's a local guy to Kenosha, but the cop who escorted him into the emergency room, he came back out. He said, "What the heck happened to you? You know, I'm shirtless, covered in blood." I said, "I recorded the shooting." So I thought that I had it on my phone. I thought that I recorded it, but I took a photo of the ground when I hung up on Shelby.
Oh.
So my stomach dropped, realizing I'm gonna have to now tell them what I saw. So I went to the police station that night, and I told them when the shooting happened that I felt something go past my legs, and I told them I stepped out of the way. It turns out, as I looked at footage, that I stepped out of the way right after the shooting, so my life was in the hands of Kyle Rittenhouse in that moment. And that bullet, the first one I think that was fired, I felt something go past my legs. So I told the police as he was collapsing, my eyes were not on him and Rittenhouse, but they were on my legs. And I looked down and I stamped my feet, and I told the police, like, did I just get effing shot? So they took that and turned me into, not only the prosecution called me as a key witness.
Yeah, I was
because-
about to, yeah, because
but I was also a victim.
Yeah, because
So they made me a victim of reckless endangerment.
So
I had a weird role where I was a witness and a victim, and I was good for the defense, but I was also, because I was a victim, in some ways good for the prosecution.
Right. And as a matter of fact, I mean, all the pictures of you, I mean, I'll just put, I mean, pictures of you holding up, you know, simulating everything.
That's the air gun.
Yeah. So it's like, I again, that whole thing had the nation riveted, because it wasn't until then that's when the narrative was saying that you're blowing a hole through the prosecution's case.
Yep.
What was the big the
viral moment, and I didn't even realize it until I got back to my hotel after I testified, that my phone was blowing up. And it was when the prosecutor had been, so I was on Tucker Carlson.
Yep.
And then I had to fight because CNN took my words out of context, and I ended up fighting to get onto CNN and correct the record. But they took words that I said on Tucker Carlson, that Rosenbaum was shot when he was falling. And so they were trying to say, well, you said he lunged for the gun, but they were implying that because he was falling, that Rittenhouse like just shot him in the back. But I was like, no, he dove for the gun, and the moment the gun was no longer there because he dodged,
right,
that lunge turns into a fall instantaneously.
Mhm.
And so, and it all happened in less than a second that he dodged and shot. So it wasn't like he landed and then he shot him.
Yeah, I remember the video of you simulating that. Like you had like literally had to walk everybody through.
Yeah, because it's better to show it
Yeah,
than
yeah,
it was
yeah.
to. And so he just had asked me in all different ways, you know, trying to get me on, well, you know, basically implying that Rosenbaum hadn't chased him, that he hadn't lunged for the gun. And he said, so you never met Joseph Rosenbaum before that moment? I said, no. And he said, so how could you possibly know what was going through his mind when in that moment? And I said, well, he screamed F you. And I told myself I wasn't going to swear. I actually said the word,
Mhm.
but it was just, I was so frustrated with
You can cuss here, by the way, so you don't have to.
Oh, okay. So I said he said fuck you and reached for the weapon.
Yeah.
And that was the viral moment that, like, oh, they just destroyed the case. But I was just telling the truth. And so after the shooting happened, I was very cognizant of the fact that my role went from journalist to witness,
Mhm.
and that, you know, my opinions on the matter were secondary to that role. So I was very careful about only stating the objective observations
Right.
in the few media appearances that I did in the meantime.
And what
in
you
the year
experienced
between.
yourself, because everyone was speaking
Yes.
for you too. I remember that. I'm like,
Yeah,
not what he
and that's
said.
why I wrote the book,
Yeah.
because I did write an op-ed on the 2nd year anniversary, and I said Kyle Rittenhouse is not a hero. He's also not a white supremacist. But it was really the thesis of the piece was proven by the response. If you stand anywhere in between the two trenches, you're going to get blasted. And what I thought to be a very common sense take was, I lost thousands. I'm not complaining. I knew I was kicking the hornet's nest to a certain extent, but the backlash from the conservative side saying, why would you even talk about Joseph Rosenbaum? He deserved what he got. He did do evil things. He was convicted of sexual assault of minors. But I didn't know that at the time.
Nobody did.
Exactly.
Everyone thought that they were just normal fucking rioters or, you know, protesters or whatever
Yeah.
you want at the time, and the way the image was being framed. Because that nobody knew about Rosenbaum at all.
No, not until I talk about in the book. It was 3 days later when the criminal complaint came out and his name was released that everybody looked into his background. Now, the Kenosha tragedy and what I get into in the book that nobody gets into in news is the deeper story behind the tragedy. And I tie a lot of that to broken homes. So Kyle Rittenhouse had a father who lived close by but was a drunk. During the trial, he was only there insofar as he left drunken messages on the lawyer's answering machine. Obviously, they let him go out to a riot with the AR-15. So that, you know, I don't know of any stable homes that would let their kid do that at age 17. But secondarily, Rosenbaum was sexually assaulted by his stepfather. The kids that he sexually assaulted are in jail for the same crimes, some of them. And Anthony Huber, the second man shot, had an absent father and used skateboarding as his only solace. And he used a skateboard to try to disarm Rittenhouse and was shot in the heart and died right there. And then Gage Groskowitz, who was also shot, absent father, and Jacob Blake. And then you have Huber's dad and Jacob Blake's dad. Jacob Blake was the man who was shot that started the whole thing. They come out now and they're suing the government and they want their money. But it's like, where were you for the first 20 something years of that kid's life? And so
it usually happens in a lot of high profile crime stuff. It's like, I mean,
Daniel Penny is exactly the same. The man that he killed, his dad is now suing.
Yeah. That's a good example right there. Yeah. Out of the woodwork. Like nobody didn't know who this guy, if he even had any living family. And it wasn't until he stepped out and they're like, everyone's like you said, where the hell were you? Oh man. So you were talking about losing followers and losing, because there was some. Kyle Rittenhouse was getting a lot of shit too for who he associated with afterwards.
Yeah.
Did that friction that he got, did it slap onto you?
For sure, definitely. I think number one, after the trial, that was when the media finally was like, everybody, NBC, CNN, Fox, they all wanted to interview me afterwards. And I'm like, I'm not going to add fuel to the flames. So I didn't do an interview for almost a year until I went on Megyn Kelly after I wrote that op-ed. But Kyle, after the trial, after his acquittal, and I go through that in the op-ed, was invited on by TPUSA, and they had pyrotechnics, and they had invited me onto that panel. But I described, that it made me feel sick because I can't undo that impression of what I witnessed. And no matter how evil somebody is, nobody deserves to die like that. And, all these alleged conservative Christians were dragging me through the mud saying he deserved what he got. But Christians believe that every man deserves the opportunity to get right with God. And Rosenbaum was not given that opportunity. Now, he's the one who lunged for the gun. So what happened. But and I'm not making excuses for what he did. Yeah,
exactly.
So, but I'm just trying, if you're going to unpack a tragedy, then you do have to look deeper than just the surface level stuff. And so that's why I caught a lot of flack, was because I think Kyle was turned into this folk hero by conservative media after the shooting. And that made him this really prominent figure. And if, you say anything other than he's a hero, then you're going to catch crap from the right because of the figure that he was turned into.
I'm pretty sure there'd be some conservatives who'd be slapping in the back of the head and going, what the fuck were you doing outside in the goddamn riot? You know what I mean? What the fuck were you doing
I'd like to meet them.
No, I'm just saying, I'm sure.
No, you're right.
But they're not going to be.
That's what I thought.
They're not going to be vocal. They're not going to be vocal at all. They're not going to. We got Corey in the comments. They should be ashamed of themselves as parents, all of them. And so it's like, I got kids too, and if one of my kids said it's time to riot, I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? It's time to riot. Where are you going? What are you doing? Yeah.
You say it's time to riot. I gotta.
Exactly.
It's 9:00 over here.
Yeah, it's Miller time.
Yeah.
No, it's again, it's also careful what you say or whatever. I mean, about his situation, and it wasn't until these other three guys were fucking ID'd as who they were. Because again, it wasn't until I fucking saw afterwards who they were. They're like, the next thing you know, oh shit, they did this, they did that, they did that. And that's when I was just curious to see if any of that stuff
Yeah.
that he got.
And I have sympathy for Kyle. You know, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people who just wanted to grift off of his limelight that he was getting. And he had a spokesman for a while who was definitely, you know, using Kyle for his own purposes. And that's what happens is when the limelight gets shined, you know, people will try. It's the same thing that happened to me after the acquittal, you know, that everybody came, oh yeah, now we want to interview you. But the difference is, you know, he had these people who did not have his best interests in mind. And I had my family saying, no, don't go on the news. Just, it's over. Don't add fuel to the flames. I had friends and family, you know, advising me every step of the way that I wanted to fly off the handle and, you know, just get emotional rather than actually let things play out and serve my role as not only somebody who witnessed the shooting as a witness, but also as then somebody who's trying to unpack the tragedy afterwards.
Well, you were right though, because I was watching, I guess you would say his bubble grow and then collapse. Is that we saw him write a book, and everybody who had supported him in the beginning, all of a sudden, were telling him, "Shut up! You're blah blah blah. You're great."
Yeah, and I read the book too.
And I'm like, what the hell, man? I mean, and then that's exactly what I was thinking. The same thing. It's like it's one of the more high profile conservatives were literally just saying, "Hey, yeah, whatever." Like, okay, well, you were fucking using him for his notoriety, I guess you would say, and you were making a buck off of him.
Yep.
And now what? You know?
Yeah, they drop you like a sack of potatoes. That's what happens, and that's what happened to me. It was all these people who were celebrating me for, oh, you ruined the prosecution's case. That when I said something they didn't like, then they dropped me like a sack of potatoes too. So I can relate for sure.
Yeah, and you were doing this. How do I say this? All you did was just testify. It's not,
yeah, I'm like, it's like, dude, I was 15 feet away, and
exactly.
This guy ran after this guy, and then he screamed
shot,
F you, and he
shot
lunged for the gun, and then shot him.
Yeah, exactly.
And I looked down.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you want me to do? And yeah, and then I carried him to the hospital, and it was something that, you know, it's the humanity, and that's the other reason I wrote the book, is because I think as the toothpaste has come out of the tube in the digital era, I was working in cable news thinking I'm working in a candle factory and electricity's just been invented. And I went on to run a video news business on all these social media platforms, and became very aware, and I detail it throughout the entire experience of how these algorithms, what they surface, what kind of content succeeds and goes viral. And the answer is the old adage still rings true, and it's actually been supercharged through these algorithms. If it bleeds, it leads.
Mm-hmm.
So the stories and the videos that people are going to click on, we call it a hate click in jest in the newsroom. It appeals to the monkey brain and not the frontal cortex, right? It's the most primal aspects that really motivate people to click and get angry and comment and engage. And so that experience was very much, it changed my whole perspective when I went from being the observer to the observed, actually being caught in the middle of that.
Yeah, and you're inadvertently being caught when you, like I was saying before, you thought you were just
fell into it.
You fell into it, yeah. Because some of when it first came out, when we were covering it, we were like, "Oh shit! Oh, kid fucking shot some dude. Damn, what the hell's a kid doing out there? Oh, damn! Oh," and then it was just like I said, it was just a rapid succession of it, and it wasn't until obviously the case we watched the case and all that. Watched the trial, and I'm like, God, man, this just fucking sucks all around. It just sucks.
And that's the thing, is everybody wants like a tidy who was right and who was wrong answer, and these things are messy, and life is messy, and it doesn't always fit into those boxes, and everybody wants to put it into those boxes more so today than perhaps ever before. I think I do talk about a lot of history, and media has been polarized for a long time, but like I said, these platforms have really, you can open up Twitter in the morning when you wake up and see somebody fall off a building or get hit by a car before you even have your morning coffee.
Yep.
And so people have become so desensitized.
Yep.
And that's why I think writing an actual book is important because I wanted to capture that moment, not only for people to read it now, but 20 years from now, and really dig into what it's like, what the experience. I want to put people in my shoes and not necessarily moralize on it so much as let them experience what I did and decide for themselves. I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean,
I put opinion in there because that's more fun.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's more like just how it, how I experienced the entire situation and what the media said here and what the media said there, and then what I saw on the ground. But when I was pitching it in 2022, when I started writing the book, that all the publishers told me that Trump wasn't going to make it through the primaries, conservative ones too.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I met DeSantis, I met Trump. Ain't no DeSantis beating Trump. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. That's
yeah.
what you want to happen is not what's going to happen. That's not how it works. And secondarily, they said, if you want to sell books, you have to pick a side. But I also covered all the MAGA stuff. So being caught in between is my story. And that was my lane. And I'm not going to pander to one side or the other just to sell books. So I started my own publishing company, Pigeon Press, right here. And it's a pigeon. You attach the message to the leg of the pigeon and you send it straight to the people. There's no corporate interference. And it's not a cocky peacock or a useless penguin, So
I like that concept.
Yeah.
My former line of work, I love that concept.
Yeah, the pigeon.
Yeah.
Power to the pigeon.
Yeah, exactly. Power to the
Pigeons
pigeon.
are real.
Exactly that. except for the ravens. They're the drones. Those are the ones
those are the ones that are not real. You gotta watch out for
the
those
raven.
ones.
Yeah, the pigeons are real. Ravens are not. So So with all that now, let's talk about now. Okay, Riot Diet is out, and where can you grab it? Where can you grab the
You can get it on the Bezos Boutique is actually the best place to buy it. You can get it from your independent bookstore if you want to support them.
Okay.
But when I sell it wholesale, I actually make less than I do on the Bezos Boutique. And that's the irony of, and I'm very open with that, is like I ran my video business on these massive multimedia platforms. And that's what I'm doing with the book too. I mean, we live in the modern age and there is but I'm also acknowledging that fact as I'm telling it.
I think specifically in your situation, in your case, I think everybody who is involved or wants to get involved in media or understand media, understanding narratives and fighting against whatever, trying to see it objectively, you have to be read on that stuff. So
yeah.
Okay, so the next topic, I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah, let's go.
So the Patriot Front.
Yep.
Okay. Feds or not?
Yeah, well, they're not fans of me after I interviewed them the other day.
No. I mean, feds. Are they feds?
Oh, feds?
Yeah. Feds or not?
Well, I was just asked this in the Twitter space that I was just on, and if somebody put a gun to my head and said, like, are they feds? Well, Unicorn Riot is a independent media outlet on Twitter that doxed a bunch of them a couple of years ago, year or two ago. And like a couple hundred names, and most of these guys, when you look into them, by all accounts, not feds. With that being said, the Proud Boys, who I covered extensively as well, after January 6th, we learned that there were informants in the Proud Boys, and so I think they're definitely infiltrated for sure. If our government is even doing their job, which is that's a whole nother question. But
because there's always it seems like, and this is I fall in that trap sometimes too. Why is it that there's every time a political shakeup, the Patriot Front just pops out of the woodwork? And
it is really weird. I agree.
Out, and it's like
it's like something is weird about that. I totally agree, and it's hard to decipher between, is it just a group of guys who are looking at that and just doing it as a troll,
right?
And like knowing that that's what's going to get them attention to their website, and so they're achieving exactly, or is it something more nefarious where January 6th also being an example of where it's hard to decipher between what is just negligent stupidity and what is something more conspiratorial and nefarious. Because when I showed up to January 6th with my bulletproof vest, my bulletproof backpack, my ballistic helmet, and my gas mask, I was like, why am I better prepared than all these cops? And why are there so few of them?
Right.
Abortion marches with more people,
right.
With more security around the the Capitol.
Oh,
and yeah, so
come on,
that's a
Richie,
question
you can't
that I
be
have.
doing that because you're falling into the conspiracy theory.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, wait a minute, because I mean, because then if you look at it, because I mean, going through the prisoners that were just released, or pardoned, I should say, they went. I mean, there were some that, okay, look, if you went in there and fucked up a place and you tore it up, I brought this up to somebody else too, is I look at Capitol kind of like a restricted area of a military, in a military base. You can't walk into flight line. It says warning, restricted area.
Yeah.
Deadly force authorized, yada, yada, yada. The guys that were doing this stuff, like you said, we don't know who was doing what, who was tearing whatever apart. I just thought that you were a fucking shitbag for tearing the place up. Now, grandma sitting outside smoking a cigarette in the lawn, watching it happen, that to me is kind of like,
Yeah, and that's the thing about the blanket pardon that is really indicative of the times that we live in, is like he could have examined. So I saw guys who were I went up in the inauguration tower. I filmed the breaking of the police line, and I literally scaled up a 20-foot wall to go around the line of people waiting to get in. I've gone through all the surveillance footage now. And I skateboarded down there when I hit traffic in my Uber so I could get there quicker, which is a whole nother question. How did I get from Georgetown, hearing that the cops were running around, thinking stuff was going to start around dark? I was managing my team from where I had internet.
I'm about to say,
how did I get all the way there?
How about careful with that narrative,
You
man?
know?
People might say you're part of it.
And the cops didn't get reinforced.
What did he say? Did you just say?
Yeah, I went all the way from
Yeah.
Georgetown all the way down there. I skateboarded down there. I got all my gear on.
Yeah.
And so I followed them in, and I went all the way to the house doors, and I was on the other side of right behind the guy in that famous photo with the sergeant at arms have their guns pointed at the guy sticking his head through the glass.
Yeah.
The votes were no longer being counted at that moment, but there were still congressmen in the room, and those guys were trying to crank the door open. There were like 20 of them and like 2 cops. And in that moment, I thought I was going to get caught in the crossfire again. And those guys broke the window and were trying to get in there. Then we got pushed out when the police finally came and had great enough numbers to pull everyone off the doors. And literally 8 minutes after that, I'm filming a guy who decided to take the opportunity of being in the rotunda to smoke a joint.
Yeah.
And there were other people in there who were like, "Oh man, look at this!" And by then, all the no trespassing signs had been trampled.
Yeah, I never
Doors,
see it.
some of them did walk in.
I've always wanted
some
to see
of them
the
didn't fight
Capitol.
them with it. Yeah.
It's
So
like,
the blanket pardon, like it Trump just did the lowest hanging fruit, and he wanted to get it done on that first night. And in order to parse out all the cases, like Pam Bondi said she was going to, the attorney general, that she said that she was going to do that, but that would have taken months. So I think it was Trump wanted to undo all of the Biden executive orders. He wanted to hit the ground running. He wanted all these promises to be fulfilled immediately. And so he did a blanket pardon. And like you said, the distinction between those two groups, which is the same distinction that was blurred by the narratives that came out of BLM, because 5 or 10% of the MAGA guys were violent and 5 or 10% of the BLMers were violent. So when the overwhelming majority of the population is out there with the best of intentions, and that smaller group bangs into police, and then the pepper spray comes out and the tear gas comes out, and that's when things go primal. And a lot of those people who fell into the latter category of good intentions you get the lizard brain.
Yeah.
And you see your fellow tribesmen get billy clubbed, and you make some irrational decisions. So there's a spectrum there that is lost on these narratives, just like Kenosha, just like the BLM stuff.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing that cut, because then they would have said, "Well, Richie, what were you doing there? Why were you filming? Are you sure you're?"
Well, I'm not going to trust the feds to tell me what happened.
No, what I'm saying though is that, what were you doing there, man? Are you sure you weren't a rioter?
Yeah. Well, I had credentials too, so I was allowed to be in there.
Because fingers were being pointed left and right on what was everyone's intent while they were there on the ground.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go back to these Patriot Front weenies.
Yep.
We're gonna get in trouble if I call them a weenie or something like that. Some guys,
they might. Yeah. Well, they were not happy when I made fun of they wear masks.
Yeah.
Anonymous protest. So I saw them. They were in front of the Washington Monument. I was like, I got to go check this out. And that's Rousseau, who's the leader of the Patriot Front, spokesman / leader. And he was the only guy who was willing to talk. And I told the dudes, I was like, are any of you guys going to talk from behind those face diapers? And some of them, they did not look happy. So maybe we'll both now not be their favorites.
Yeah,
but
I'm about to say, cause,
yeah,
well, because I always laugh at them and mock them on Twitter too. It's like dorks.
Yeah.
What do you? Because like I said, it went back to like, that kind of coincidental that you're coming out during some of these big political things.
And he was very happy to talk.
Mhm.
They do this kind of you can see there. What happens is they bring all their guys in, and the filmers, there were like 3 guys with cameras who surround me.
Yep.
All the other guys are surrounding me in this circle, and I'm not like scared because there's 50 cops right behind that line of guys, of Patriot Front guys. But I was asking, do you support Kash Patel for the FBI director? The joke there being, number one, they're a ethno-nationalist group, white nationalist group, and he said, no, I don't believe that he should be FBI director because he's Indian. I was like, well, he's born in America.
Yeah.
For one. But
Long Island, New York is a matter of fact. Yeah.
But then this whole idea, that, well, how are they infiltrated by the feds? And
Right.
It's Kash. Maybe they're saying no. It was a lose-lose for them because they're going to say no. But then when they say no, everybody on Twitter was like, well, does that mean that these guys don't want to lose their jobs because Kash Patel's going to fire them?
Exactly. I saw that. I saw that meme going around too.
Yeah.
That I'm so glad that Doge is coming in, so that way the Patriot Front will lose their jobs. I'm like, oh, I got it. Okay, I get it.
But they're legit. I mean, I got into, well, if you're a white Muslim, are you allowed in the Patriot Front? No. If you're a black Christian, are you allowed in the Patriot Front? No. And so they had this idea that European culture, Europeans, and I even got into like, where is Europe drawn? Like apparently he considers Russia as part of that, like
so
white Western.
Yeah, so he's talking about early Prussia.
He said Georgia is where the line is drawn. He said they were on the right side of the Caucasus Mountains, and I was like, what if you're a Caribbean? What if you're in Tortola?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, no, not if you're not white. And I was like, what about a white Tortolan? And he was like, well, I'd consider it, because he said Australians were allowed in. So anyways, all that to say that this group is actually legitimately, the Proud Boys are not ethnically, their founding documents and their makeup, but the guys that I interviewed, they're not just a white group. There's a giant Samoan guy named Tiny Tuscaloosa who's I filmed beat the crap out of some guy in the Chaz. So they're not a white group, but they are a nationalist group. So there's a distinction between the two. These guys are actual white nationalists.
So they're legit, they're legit white supremacists.
Yeah, and actually I asked him, he was like, America has a long history of anonymous protests, because I asked him why they had the masks on, and then I was like, yeah, you mean like the KKK?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's in a weird way, they have this identitarian view of the world that sounds more like an MSNBC guest than it does a Trumper. So I mean, things are crazy right now. I
just think it's funny because you look at some of these groups like, Proud Boys and Patriot Front, and I look at that. What's their? I mean, what do they do? I mean, what do they do? What's
the Proud Boys is a drinking club. The Patriot Front is much more. They do like civic work, volunteer work. They do like training. The Proud Boys, you have to get beaten up to get into the videos. A lot of times they're not really getting beaten up, and you have to recite your 5 favorite breakfast cereals while you're getting beaten up. They sing the Aladdin theme song at every meeting, and then they just drink beer. And they also they believe in no masturbation unless you're within a yard of a woman. I mean, it's really bizarre. But the Patriot Front's founding documents are like straight up neo-Nazi. They use blood and earth, which is an adage to Hitler. Used that for the mustering the Nazis around the fatherland of Germany. And so they're legitimately using a lot of Nazi ideology in their founding documents. And the Proud Boys, that's just simply not the case. I mean, they were called by the left-wing media that white nationalists, but they're not, because Enrique Tarrio was the leader of the group.
I was about to say,
thrown in jail, and he's
Latino.
Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
So,
or some people like to call it Afro-Latino.
Yes,
Latino.
but they are violent. I mean, I watched them beat up multiple people, and both in DC and in Seattle. And so it's not like they're, kumbaya. They're out there with reinforced gloves and plate carriers, and they're ready to beat people up.
Now, I mean, maybe it's because it's weird for me to see. I mean, like, we're not talking about 1% or motorcycle clubs. We're not talking about like Latino gangs. We're not talking about, you know, the Bloods and the Crips. It's just odd for me to see, I don't know, just to see this type of groups, like these type of groups. It's like,
Isn't this 2024? I know.
Yeah, it's hard for me to grasp that. Like I said, because I think the old motorcycle club, the old, you know, gangs, Bloods, Crips, Latinos, and stuff like that from the East Coast and the West Coast, and then all the 1% MCs, they're like, I thought those would be like the last true, you know, remnants of that type of culture.
Yeah.
But this to me is I'm legit. Like, if somebody says, "Oh, that person's a Proud Boy," okay, well, that person's a, you know, a Patriot Front guy. I'm like, I don't know what that, I don't know what that means. You know, all I know is that they like,
and that's why that's why I'm going out there. You know, people say, like, why would you even platform this guy? And it's like, the best disinfectant is sunlight, and you have to ask these people tough questions, and that's where you can find the chinks in the armor. And whether it's Antifa or the Proud Boys or the Patriot Front, it's, in my opinion, the responsibility of a journalist not to point a finger and say, look at how wrong these guys are, but just use the Socratic method of asking questions, like I did with Rittenhouse. Really, you're an EMT? Like, it doesn't strike me like you, it doesn't look like a seasoned guy. And just prod at those softer areas of their ideology and their reasoning for doing what they're doing. But that all ties back into the thesis of the book, which is, because our local communities, our local newspapers are all eroding, you know, everybody's moving, getting coalesced around these big cities. We've lost our local identities. We've lost our local communities. Our families are falling apart, and people now identify with the national political tribe.
Right.
So it's not just hey, I'm going to go drink with my buddies and ride a motorcycle. It's like everybody ties their future to national politics rather than reinforcing their own communities from the ground up and local politics.
Yeah, it's like it's also the grassroots method of media is not believed by the larger, I guess you would say, larger frame media too. So it's like, that's
definitely still the case.
And
but look at how Trump won. You know, he went on Full Send podcast, and Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan was talking with Theo Vaughn about asking him what it was like to do cocaine.
Right.
And so, you know, the success of that campaign largely speaks to the fact that people are turning away from the more established media outlets. And I've been saying for many years now, I had a conversation with Tucker Carlson in like 2017. I was like, where we talked about how authenticity is the new currency in the discourse, because people don't trust the brands of who these newscasters are working for. They trust individuals. And so I think that that's all being parsed out of, like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, is this guy, you know, so that's really why I started my own publishing company, because I was like, I'm not going to let these people tell me what to do, because I have to live with this book for the rest of my life.
Right. I was about to say, because then it again, like you said before, it's almost like they're trying to frame you into one side when it's, you're like, nah, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say this, but you're trying to put me into that. It's just funny because I got some comments in there that says, I've never heard the Patriot Front until today.
Yeah, exactly. And that's for the better, but
yeah.
you know, now that it's happening, you have to, you know, show people. And like, it was amazing to see. I was surprised by two things from that one tweet that you had is, there's one that's one later that got way more attention. It's the full video of where I'm walking up to them and asking all the guys about Kash Patel. And then I get into the full conversation with Rousseau. But I was surprised with how anti-Patriot Front the MAGA crowd was, and B, how many actual, like, guys with Hitler avatars were in my replies. I've never been called various worse versions of gay than I was in that particular tweet, in the replies on that tweet. And so I was surprised with, like, oh wow, these people do exist. And so if they do exist, and if they are doing these kinds of things right in the middle of Washington, D.C., then I think people need to wisen up to, I think it makes you realize, like, this is actually a reality. And, you know, it's not just a left-wing talking point.
Right.
With that being said, the Proud Boys are not white nationalists. So the waters get muddied on purpose. And, you know, all Trump supporters are certainly not white nationalists, but that's the narrative that's been spun up over the last 8 years.
Right. And that's, I'll be honest with you, that's that missing link of why I'll be honest with you, that's probably the part of Trump's victory as well, is that
Yeah.
they tried to clump everybody in one spot and then
Yeah.
started clumping everybody into that one
Yeah.
MAGA spot when you're like, no,
Exactly.
it wasn't really all MAGA that voted for Trump at this point.
Yeah.
This go around.
Exactly. The Covington kids, great example. And then Jussie Smollett. I mean, just the mere fact that all these major media institutions bought that story. I mean, it's the same thing after Kenosha. The morning after, that's when I decided I had to go public with my story. Vice News article said that Kyle Rittenhouse opened fire on protesters, and there were videos. There's a video from farther away. I was the closest one, but Drew Hernandez was like 50 feet away. You can see Rosenbaum chase him down. You can hear him scream "F you." And so that writing of the story was just completely ignoring the facts, and that the Jussie Smollett thing was like, anybody. So you're telling me 2 a.m. in Chicago?
Yeah.
Some guys wearing MAGA hats in Chicago at 2 a.m.
in the morning, and it was like below 5 degrees or something like that, or 10
Yeah,
degrees.
and then the bleach freezes at those temperatures.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody says, "Hey, the Patriot Front always has the greatest security." So hang on, this is where they're leaving. This is from This is from Fort
That's
Fisher.
Ford. Yep,
This is
Ford
from
was in Kenosha. Yep.
Yeah, and so Fort Fisher highlighted on his Twitter account. It's right. It looks like the cops seem to like. It's like they protect them. It's almost like a.
Well, and you know, with to be fair, they also protected all the BLM stuff, and that's what the cops do. And the irony, there was an irony in the BLM stuff. They're saying all cops are bastards, and the cops are the ones protecting them as they shut down a bridge.
Right.
You know, because if the cops weren't there, then the cars would be driving past.
I just want to know where all the punching Nazi guys are at, because that's what I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna say this a little bit. I want to see one of those guys. You know, see what happens when one of those guys.
Well, they were there on Stop the Steal. So
I was just saying, some of those guys are like, because I mean, walking around.
I was surprised there was one counter protester only.
They don't do that. You don't see that. It's like I said, it's almost like a timing thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it was also March for Life, so that's probably, other than the inauguration, the most conservative crowd you're going to get in DC all year.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying conservatives aren't going to like step up and punch him in the face, but they're certainly not as activated by that.
Right.
And yeah, they're not going to be as confrontational. They just, see them and say that's,
like,
whatever, detestable.
Why do they do that at DC? Why don't they do that like at Fayetteville, North Carolina? Or
because they want the eyeballs.
Yeah.
It's the same as the BLM, they'd agitate the police. Patriot Front, by all accounts that I saw, were very accommodating with the police. Hey, can we cross right now, etc. But either way, whether you're bumping into the cops and getting a violent response in order to get cameras aimed at you to get eyeballs on your cause, or if you're going out there like in this like pseudo goose stepping formation, it's all done for that shock factor and
and you'll see it in small towns like in Tennessee or something. Like, well, what are they? Boy, these guys are just traveling everywhere. They all fly together. It's just like who's behind it? And again, that's why I think the mystique of they're all feds is why it's because they just seem to pop up.
Doesn't sit right.
Yeah, it doesn't sit. Like, are they part of a? They're all like, I don't want to say they're organized, but they're a little bit more organized. Like I said, they all come out, they all do their protests. You talk to them, they get pissed off at you, and then they walk away. Like,
yeah.
For me, it's just odd. I mean, some people were saying this is what the media wants and all that. I'm like, it's just odd for me because seeing what I have seen and watching Americans getting involved in this type of stuff. It just.
Yeah, and your psychological warfare background too.
Yeah, it's just,
which is if you have an insurgency, you want to divide and conquer.
Right. I mean, literally, I think Twitter assisted in the revolution in the Arab Spring. Also, as much as it's doing it now, in our own way here in America.
Yes.
No one's obviously, there's no shots being fired, nothing of that. But I'm just seeing a digital revolution, and the way they for me, it's just like, it's just so odd. I mean,
yeah,
bro, we're not gonna fucking, like, it's like fucking this thing, West Side Story. I'm not freaking,
They all have matching outfits. They even look like feds because they're wearing khakis.
Yeah, it's like they're khakis and they're all.
Who came up with that outfit?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, bro, we could talk all night.
Strange times.
This is some good stuff. So, what's your thoughts on the? You were talking about Kash Patel coming in. What's your thoughts about that? I mean, He's
in my hockey league, and I've talked to guys who are on his team, and I mean, he's been playing since like 2017, and everybody on his team says he's a great guy. I do know from the public stuff that he's done that I can see why there's uproar over it, because he's literally said he wanted to turn the FBI building into a museum on day one.
Yeah.
And so my take on it is I view it the same that I had this whole Trump era, which and one of the reasons why I was largely disappointed with the first term is if you look at it on a longer timeline, you know, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Trump, they both ran on a change candidate platform, and it took Hillary Clinton sandbagging Bernie's campaign to stop him. And so in 2024, I knew Trump was going to win because he was running on that change platform, and Kamala Harris couldn't even answer anything she would do differently than what Joe Biden did.
Right.
And she was on The View. So if you view it on a long enough timeline, I think we do need a shake to the system. And like you said, the H-1B being a great example, that whole H-1B visa debate that happened on Twitter, everyone's like, look at the MAGA, they're eating their own, they're cannibalizing each other, they're fighting. And it's like, no, that's actually the first substantive, widespread debate that I've seen over our immigration system in my lifetime.
I saw two of them. I saw the H-1Bs and the DACA. They were talking about the DACA as well.
Yeah. And that stuff has to be figured out regardless of where you fall on the spectrum. It's like we can't just keep kicking that can down the road, and that's what both sides of the political spectrum have been doing for 40 years.
Oh my God, yeah, because then now any action to counter it is now an overblown response for what everyone's seeing. Oh, I see what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So, man, Richie, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
This is some good stuff.
Happy to do it anytime.
Yeah. Guys,
there's gonna be a lot more to come.
I was about to say, you'll probably come back anyways.
I think I got to retire from the RIOT stuff. This gas mask back here is just a set piece now.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I was going to ask if you were going to go anywhere else, but I guess
I'm not. You know, it's always make the call when it happens. Yeah, I did have a viral video at a anti-Netanyahu protest recently. I asked my wife, it's like, they're pepper spraying people out there. Should I go? She was like, yeah, you should go. And I just immediately got this guy saving an American flag from being burned.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So we'll see. It's a case by case basis.
Of course.
I'm gonna do the Tom Brady and keep everybody in
keep them in suspense.
Limbo.
Retire, come back, retire, come back. All right, Richie, guys, make sure you share, like, and follow. You got the links inside the chats, and me and Richie are gonna shoot the shit for a second while we finish off, and then we'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Yep, shot, stand by.
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
It was good chat. Appreciate you guys in the comments, man. Some good stuff. Richie McGinniss. He is most definitely going to be coming back. That was some good stuff. I appreciate you, Richie, for hanging out and giving us some of your insights, and then having that good conversation about everything. One of the things that I saw everybody, I appreciate everyone understanding that. Hey, man, make sure you grab media from everywhere just to understand, and read some stuff. Make sure you read Riot Diet. I'm like I said, I was stoked. It was kind of cool. I was kind of like, ooh, man, is he gonna come on? Is he really gonna come on? So I don't want to say I was fangirling, but it was just like, hey, I'm glad he was able to come on. So what was I going to talk about? Somebody brought up to my attention. I was going to bring this up during the last part of the show. Today is the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. I just remember, never forget. Okay, everyone's gonna try to throw their narratives or whatever, but it was a moment in history where our own U.S. forces witnessed ourselves as far as seeing the camps being liberated. And it's also covered in the TV series Band of Brothers. And if you watch, I think it's the episode Why We Serve. If you watch that episode, to put the veteran side or to put the military side to it, understanding. Watch that series, you'll understand why we serve. So make sure if you know anybody or know of Holocaust survivors, or just read a book, check it out, and remember, never forget, never again. So I think that's it. I think that covers it. You got anything for me over there? I see you all in the chats blabbing away. Let's see what's going on. Let's do some housekeeping. Let's see what we got for housekeeping. All right. So the calendar. Let's look at the calendar here. All right. So nothing that I could see so far. February's got some stuff going on. A lot of in progress stuff. So kind of like, keep your ear to the ground. And then, like I said, you never know what you're going to see when we go live. This is the Monday edition. Myself with Massey. Broadcasting live, of course, on 5 different platforms. Tomorrow is CQ. Michael Carrasquillo as the pop culture warrior with his angry staff, Mad Mike and Angry Elf. And then Wednesday is the Sorents at the Smoke Pit, giving you the Sorents, the Team Sorents level of discussion. And then, of course, Sergeant's Time with myself and Spanky. Oh, I'm sorry. Radar and TZ. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Radar and TZ head up the Smoke Pit. And then, of course, myself and Spanky for Sergeant's Time. I think we got a freaking, we have FTX this week, I think. So, and then, of course, weekend co-ops. FTX, if you guys don't know, those are the tabletop games that CQ and the rest of and if you guys look carefully, there are some WTF Moments admins and WTF Nation Radio staff on plane, and you never know, they might be in here. We might be everywhere. We're everywhere. And then, of course, then it's weekend co-ops with Nemo and the crew over either at Valor Gaming or WTF Nation Gaming. And then, of course, a sports bar is going to take a break for a sec. And then I'll let King and the coach give you guys an update. But normally on Sunday we have the sports bar with the actual King Smith and What Do You Hear? What Do You Say? The coach. And then, of course, back on Monday. Make sure you share, like, and follow. We're broadcasting live on 5 different platforms. So if you don't like any of the platforms, there's other platforms where you don't like that you can get on. There's 2 YouTube pages at U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio. There's 2 Facebook pages at U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio, and X at WTF Nation Radio. X is like doing pretty good. I'm kind of like digging the stuff on X, because Facebook will throw up some warnings, YouTube will throw up some warnings, but X, nah, man. X lets us be. I kind of like it. Kind of like X. So make sure you guys get yourself an X account. Again, at WTF Nation Radio on X. So I think that's it. You got anything for me? Oh, okay. Everyone's already saying goodbye. All right. See you all later. Thanks for tuning in, and shots.
Hey, this is SEAC retired John Wayne Troxel. You're listening to WTF Nation Radio, the station of choice for all of the badass MFers on the planet.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Driving us insane. ATF zero time, 30, no time to complain. Push-ups in the mud, feel the muscle strain. Army life is a wild ride. WTF moments can't hide. Through the fire we survive, in the ranks we thrive. It's WTF moments in the Army's grind. Through the blood and sweat we find our kind. In the chaos and the fire we stand aligned. Warriors forged in the battle's bind. Hilltops in the desert, sandstorms in our eyes. Memories for breakfast, no room for lies. Rocket watches through the night under starless skies. Brothers and sisters, we rise. Army life, it's a wild ride. WTF moments can't hide. Through the fire we survive, in the ranks we thrive. It's WTF moments in the Army's grind. Through the blood and sweat we find our kind. In the chaos, in the fire we stand aligned. Warriors forged in the battle's bind. Drill sergeant fury echoing in the air. Discipline and duty we all must bear. Battle bodies by our side in the fight we share. In the face of danger we dare. Army life, it's a wild ride. WTF moments can't hide. Through the fire we survive, in the ranks we thrive. It's WTF moments in the Army's grind. Through the blood and sweat we find our kind. In the chaos and the fire we stand aligned. Warriors forged in the battle's bind. Flames on firefights, adrenaline's rush. Silent nights, broken by the enemy's hush. Medics on the move in the heat of the crush. In the heart of battle we trust. It's WTF moments in the Army's grind. Through the blood and sweat we find our kind. In the chaos and the fire we stand aligned. Warriors forged in the battle. Army life, it's a wild ride. WTF moments can't hide. Through the fire we survive. In the ranks we thrive. Memories in our mind. Brothers lost but never left behind. Army WTF moments in the stories we find. In the Army's embrace, we're forever entwined. It's WTF moments in the Army's grind. Through the blood and sweat we find our kind. In the chaos and the fire we stand aligned. Warriors forged in the battle's bind. Through the smoke and the flames we rise again. In the heart of the storm we find our sin. Battle buddies by our side, our men. In the Army's legacy we transcend.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
There are many simple things in the world. Shovels. They are all different. Gardening shovel. Unloading shovel. Children's shovel. But there is also a different shovel. We use it when we come to the position. In short time, it helps us dig a trench which saves us from bullets. If a tank will pass over the trench, there is a high probability that it will not cause any harm to the soldier. We dig in the ground, deeper, and then connect the trenches with our friends to the left. In just a few hours, trenches are all connected. When we do not have an axe, we can use a shovel to cut a loaf of bread. A soldier uses a shovel as a paddle, crossing the wide river under enemy fire. If we run out of ammunition, we will use a shovel again, and then we'll move on. And when we get the order to stop, we'll take a shovel again and build around us an impregnable fortress. This fortress is defended by the Army of Ukraine, our army.